Aqua buddies, what's up guys? How's everything? I hope that your fish and your plants are doing very well. So guys, if you remember that we made a video about floating plants, and we made video about top 10 floating plants which you can keep in your aquarium. And today's video is about the floating plants, and in this video we are going to discuss that what are the pros and cons of the floating plants if you keep them in the aquarium. So we are going to discuss both of these, what are the benefits and drawbacks, and today's video is going to be very beneficial for you. So guys, let's move ahead, and before starting please subscribe if you haven't. Let's move.
Floating aquarium plants are very popular nowadays. These floating plants are very appealing and attractive and add completely new look to your aquarium. Aquarium floating plants give more natural and wild appearance to the aquarium. In today's video we are going to discuss pros and cons of floating plants. Let us see pros or benefits of floating plants. Number 1. Aesthetic look. Most floating plants are attractive and can add great aesthetic value to your tank. These plants will not only serve as a decorative means but will create a natural look in the tank, and you will definitely love it. Just keep in mind that aquascaping requires a fair knowledge about the plants and hardscape. In some styles, floating plants can never be used. For example, the principles of Iwagami aquascaping does not tolerate chaos in plants. However, if you want to create jungle aquascaping, floating plants may be a good choice for you. Number 2. Food for fish and fries. Certain free-floating plants have tender leaves. They have an abundance of protein. Fish, snails, shrimps, other inhabitants need a protein-rich diet. They eat free-floating plant leaves. Free-floating plants will stop debris at its roots, which offer food for aquarium inhabitants. Roots of the plants help in the growth of biofilm, which is a very important food for newly born fish fries. Number 3. Provide shade. Floating plants will create shade that can be a good way to filter lights if you have plants that do not need it, for example Java fern, Amazon sword, Marimo moss ball, Anubias, etc. In addition, by reducing light getting to the tank, we also slow down algae growth. Shrimp and freshwater snails will be especially glad, since they are primarily nocturnal animals. Number 4. Reduce stress. Fish invertebrates feel more relaxed if something is above them. If fish feel more secure, then they will come out of their hiding, swim freely. Lower stress will encourage fish to spawn. Floating plants allow fish to hide underneath them. Number 5. Prevent algae. Another great benefit of floating plants in aquariums is that they help keep algae at bay. We should never forget that the planted tank is never free of algae. Algae growth is a natural occurrence in any tank. Floating plants do not have roots anchored in soil, therefore, they draw all their nutrients directly from the water. That is why their algae-reducing properties are directly linked to their ability to consume nutrients from the water column, since algae feed on them. Number 6. Low light and carbon dioxide. Floating plants usually do not require any fancy lighting because they will always get more light than other plants regardless of the system. The same can be said about CO2. They do not need CO2 injections because they get CO2 from the air. Number 7. Reduce temperature. Free-floating plants stop light from hitting water directly, keep your aquarium temperature low. Number 8. Increase filtration. They absorb metals, chemicals, and other pollutants that can be harmful to our shrimp, fish, crayfish, etc. Using floating plants is perhaps the most cost-efficient and environmentally friendly way to provide extra filtration for your tanks. Floating plants will bring down ammonium, nitrate, and phosphates at extremely high rates because they use all these chemicals to produce their proteins and grow. Now let's talk about cons or drawbacks of floating plants. Number 1. Block light for plants. Plants which are underwater and require higher intensity light, they don't get proper light due to floating plants because they are present on the surface and block the light. Number 2. Lower the oxygen at night. As these plants cover the whole water surface, so these plants don't allow the gas exchange at night. Hence in this way oxygen is not properly absorbed in the water. Number 3. Consume too much nutrients. As these floating plants grow very fast, so they need a lot of nutrients in very short time. Hence they consume nutrients very quickly and you need to add extra nutrients for others slow-growing plants. Number 4. Food stuck inside. Floating plants cover the whole surface of the aquarium so it becomes very difficult to feed fish and other species. If you feed the fish in this situation, the food may stuck inside these floating plants and cannot reach to the bottom fishes. As a conclusion, we can say that, although these plants add natural and wild beauty to the aquarium, but there are some benefits and drawbacks for these floating plants. But overall, there are more pros than cons. So we would recommend you to add up these beautiful floating plants if you can maintain them.